The following is a News Source 13 special report.
Good morning, I'm Mary McCombs. A terrifying wake-up call for some passengers on board an Amtrak train that jumped the tracks in Batavia this morning. More than 100 people are injured. This map gives you a better idea of the area that we are talking about this morning. The derailment took place just west of the city of Batavia in Genesee County, and it happened around 4 a.m. Batavia, of course, located in Genesee County. That's where News Source 13's Doug Embledge has been. He's been on the scene all morning. He's joining us now live with an update. Doug?
Mary, we can only imagine what that was like. 3:45 this morning, I would guess most of the passengers on board that train that was going from Boston to Chicago, a train that had just stopped in Rochester to pick up passengers, I imagine most of them were sleeping or dozing at that time. Suddenly, there had to be a terrible sound, and indeed there was. The train had derailed just southwest of Batavia. Of the 331 people on board that train, 125 were injured. No one was killed. But among those injuries, there were some serious ones. Those people with the most serious injuries have been taken to hospitals in Rochester and Buffalo. These pictures, the pictures you just saw, were from the scene very early this morning, and they continue of some of the wreckage of that Amtrak train that was pulling 16 cars this morning. Among those on board, a Boy Scout troop from Connecticut. As we see in this raw video, there was a lot to step over for them as they left the train this morning. Laura Sheridan is one of the moms traveling to New Mexico with that Boy Scout troop.
It was more the movement. We were going back and forth, like this. And, of course, the noise and screaming. And
see the sparks out there?
I was just afraid we were going to tip over.
And indeed, a couple of the cars did tip over. Once again, 331 people on board, some of them from Rochester. 125 were injured, and they've all been moved out to hospitals. Those that weren't hurt have been moved to the Batavia Town Hall. We have a crew over there now. We're getting some interviews with the people who indeed survived this wreck without any injuries. Again, no fatalities. That's the very good news this morning. We still don't know, Mary, though, just what caused the whole thing in the first place.
You mentioned, though, Doug, that officials are on the scene right now investigating the cause of this wreck.
Certainly are, and I would guess that it could be some time before they find out what happened. Some people in Batavia did say they were doing some work along the Amtrak line yesterday and over the last few days, but we don't know yet whether that work had anything to do with what happened this morning around 3:45.
All right, Doug Embledge reporting live from Batavia and Genesee County. We'll check back with you, Doug, in a few minutes. Of course, we'd like to recap some of the highlights of this story. County officials telling us 7 of the 8 of the Lakeshore Limited have overturned. There were apparently 311 people on this train, including 275 passengers, along with 25 crew members. The last stop that the train made was here in Rochester. More than 125 people have been hurt. There are no reports of any deaths. 40 or 50 ambulances reportedly on the scene this morning. Everybody was taking the injured to various hospitals, both here in Rochester as well as in Buffalo. And we would assume the 2 hospitals in Batavia also took some of the people, those that suffered some minor injuries in the wreck. Now, the train had 2 locomotives. They were pulling 16 cars, as Doug had mentioned, to run from Boston to Chicago, not from New York City, as we reported earlier this morning. Apparently, it was from Boston to Chicago. Here's a map now of the location of what we're talking about. And of course, this accident took place around 3:45 this morning. No word yet on what caused this wreck. Of course, we will keep you updated with the latest information. Stay tuned to News Source 13. We'll be back in a few minutes, and Doug Embledge will be joining us live once again from Genesee County. We return you now to our regular scheduled program.
The following is a News Source 13 special report.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary McCombs. We continue to update our top story. It has been a very busy time in our newsroom this morning. It was a terrifying wake-up call. Some passengers on board an Amtrak train. That train jumped the tracks in Batavia this morning. It all happened around 4 a.m. More than 100 people are injured. News Source 13's Doug Embledge has been on the scene all morning. He is joining us now live with the latest information for us. Doug?
Mary, this is a rather impressive emergency situation in terms of the scope of it. There are several hospitals involved. Jim Redmond was just talking to me from St. Jerome's Hospital, telling me there were 50 people taken there. 2 of the more seriously injured are being airlifted as we speak to Erie County Medical Center. It all happened, as you said, around 3:45 this morning. 125 people of the 331 on board were injured. Some of those injuries range from the walking wounded to to very serious injuries. The more serious, as we said, are being airlifted to hospitals in both Rochester and Buffalo. These are the pictures from very early this morning, probably about an hour and a half after the wreck. 45 ambulances were brought in from a 5-county area, as well as other emergency officials. Some of the wounded were treated in a triage area before they were moved on to hospitals. That's a Boy Scout troop from Connecticut that was on board the train. They were heading to Philmont in New Mexico for a scout jamboree. One of the Boy Scouts was kind of on the move as we talked to him this morning.
We're from Southwick, Massachusetts.
Where were you going?
We're going to Philmont, New Mexico.
What's your name?
Peter Davis,
What's the name of your troop?
114.
And you're out of where?
Southwick, Massachusetts.
Okay, thank you.
Those scouts apparently very prepared this morning. They were evacuating the scene along with many other people. The very good news is here that no one has died as a result of this crash. But again, there are 125 injuries, some of them very serious. There's a lot going on at the local hospitals in Batavia. And coming up in just a few minutes, Mary will check back in and tell you what's going on at St. Jerome's Hospital, where about 50 of the injured have been taken.
All right, Doug Embledge reporting live from Batavia in Genesee County. We'll check back with you in a few minutes as we continue to provide you with more information coming out of Genesee County this morning. Stay tuned to News Source 13. We'll be back in a couple of minutes with an update for you.
News Source 13's closed captioning is made possible by Chemical Bank.
From WOKR, Rochester, this is a News Source 13 update.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mary McCombs. It is 8:25 right now. We have 68 degrees and patchy fog. Glenn Johnson will check the forecast for us in just a moment. Our top story all morning long that we've been talking about is the train wreck in Batavia in Genesee County. More than 100 people injured after an Amtrak train jumped its tracks shortly after 4 this morning. News Source 13's Doug Embledge has been on the scene all morning. He's been covering this story. He's joining us now with the latest information. Doug?
Mary, that train had passengers on board from New York and Chicago, but the stop it had just made, probably less than an hour before the derailment, was in Rochester, and there were some patients, some passengers on board from Rochester. I say patients, I slip of the tongue, but the reason I say that is because 125 people were injured of the 331 on board. Many of the injured have been taken to St. Jerome's Hospital in Batavia. They were moved out of the scene that you can see here. A lot of chaos. There were some cars tipped over, some remained on the track this morning. Most of the seriously injured were in 2 cars that were almost upside down in a ravine. There was a parade of ambulances brought in from a 5-county area, 45 in all, to get the injured either to Erie County Medical Center, Strong Memorial Hospital in Rochester, or to St. Jerome's Hospital in Batavia. Jim Redmond was at St. Jerome's Hospital in Batavia a few minutes ago. We're going to have a report from there coming up as we continue our special reports from the scene. Again, 331 on board, 125 injured, and the very good news, as we've said all this morning in our live coverage, is that no one has died as a result of this, and there's still no word, Mary, on the cause, but the federal investigators are on the scene.
All right, Doug Embledge, thank you for the live update. We'll check back with you in a few moments. Glenn Johnson checks in now with a preview of our forecast this morning.
Well, we still have the balmy weather right now, but we think some of the coolest weather of the season could be heading our way. The forecast is coming up next.
News Source 13 Update is brought to you by Mann's Jewelers.
Why would someone work and study so hard for so long to become a graduate gemologist?
Being the 9th generation of jewelers in my family, I wanted to strive for the ultimate goal in the industry, the graduate gemologist degree. My knowledge can give people the power to make the right choice. That's important to me.
Mann's Jewelers, there's a lot to be said for being one of a kind.
8:27, Glenn's back with our forecast.
Yeah, we started out with a lot of patchy fog this morning and still rather gray as we go through the morning. Let's take a look at our current conditions. We'll call it mostly cloudy skies. Every once in a while the sun trying to peek through the clouds, and as far as visibility is concerned, it will improve. We've had some reports of visibility very poor in some areas, but the fog and the low clouds will be lifting. Our temperature right now is at 68 degrees. Winds are out of the southwest. Satellite pictures show some of that very low-level moisture, but again, conditions will improve. The clouds and the fog beginning to break up, of course, across a good portion of the area. Now take a look at what we have over the next couple of days. A very strong cold front is going to be moving through the Great Lakes tomorrow, and that may set off some rather significant showers and thunderstorms, we think, during the day tomorrow afternoon and then into the evening. Behind that front, we are talking about some very cool weather. Temperatures are going to struggle to get up to near 70 degrees, we think, by Friday. Now, weather forecast for today, we are going to warm things up. We'll gradually see more sunshine as we go through the day. High temperature is going to be near 84 degrees. Then for tonight, clear skies early, and the clouds start to approach by morning, temperature dropping into the upper 60s. The 3-day outlook, Thursday, we're going to have to watch because we could find some showers and thunderstorms, particularly by the afternoon and into the evening. They could be heavy at times. Then breezy, much cooler as we head into Friday, but it looks like dry, sunny weather right into the weekend.
Okay, thanks, Glenn. Out to the roads right now. Tom George is standing by to update us with the morning ride to work. Hi, Tom.
Mary, hi. The volumes have calmed down. We're going to give you a list here of construction delays. Of course, 490, both directions of the work zone down to a lane each way. That's not news, but what is news is in that same area, 31F between 490 and St. John Fisher College, reduced to one lane both directions. I would avoid that if I were you today. The other place is further out in Pittsford, Route 31, Palmyra Road near 490. That has alternating one-way traffic. If you can avoid that, it'll do you well. And then we go over to Gates because they're paving Howard Road at Route 31. They'll be in there paving all day long. It will be slow, and we hope to see you later at 5. I'm Tom George.
Your salad days are here again. Choose from Friendly's new Chicken Caesar salad, the new fruit salad, the chef salad, the chicken oriental salad, and more. Each salad comes with a free orange cream roll sundae. So good, you'll want to take some home. It's time to get Friendly's.
For 27 years, Rose & Sullivan has had the pleasure of serving all your home electronics, appliance, and furniture needs. Thank you, and please join us in taking pride in Rochester.
Again, our temperature now, 68 degrees.
That's our report. Thanks for joining us. And we now join ABC's Good Morning America, already in progress.
The following is a News Source 13 special report.
This is Doug Embledge reporting live in Batavia. You are looking at pictures from early this morning of a train wreck about 2 miles southwest of the city center. Around 3:45 this morning, an Amtrak passenger train that had just picked up passengers in Rochester derailed, and 125 people were injured. One firefighter on the scene this morning says as far back as he can remember, he doesn't remember anything this serious happening in Genesee County. Here are the facts. The accident took place 2 miles southwest of the Batavia City Center. 331 passengers were on board. Some of them, we don't know how many, had just been picked up in Rochester. 125 people were injured, some of them mild. Some of those injuries were very serious, and some of the most seriously injured passengers have been airlifted out of Batavia to Erie County Medical Center and to Strong Memorial Hospital in Rochester. Many others are being treated at the local Batavia hospitals, including St. Jerome's. These are pictures of passengers being brought into St. Jerome's Hospital within the last couple of hours. They were on board the train this morning. They've been brought into the regular emergency room and an expanded emergency room that was put in place because of the scope of the accident this morning. We spoke with a spokesman for the hospital just a bit ago.
Yes, we've enacted the disaster plan, which means that extra staff is in place, extra surgeons are on call, and everybody is doing what needs to be done to get the job done. We also have extra people in place to help try to notify families. That's the big concern right now for these patients.
People want to get that phone call out. Now, News Source 13's been on the scene since first thing this morning. Brought you the first pictures from the scene. We also have crews that are over at the town hall right now, which is where the people who were not injured have been taken. There are about 150 of them. The Red Cross is mobilizing there, trying to get phone lines in. And you might recall, if you saw our reports earlier this morning, we showed you a Boy Scout troop from Connecticut that was on board the train. None of the scouts appeared to be seriously injured. We're just told by our News Source 13 crew over at the town hall, they're actually helping out now. They're doing their good deeds, if you will, setting up tables and helping in any way they can over at the town hall where the people who were not injured have been taken. We're going to keep you up to date all morning long from Batavia. A rather serious accident this morning. 125 people injured. The good news is no one has died, but the emergency continues as a train from Amtrak derailed around 3:45 this morning just southwest of Batavia. This is Doug Embledge reporting live from Batavia for News Source 13.
We now join our regularly scheduled program already in progress.
Right here, this is a whole wheat bread. The salad.
The following is a News Source 13 special report.
This is Doug Embledge reporting live in Batavia, where, one of the biggest emergency incidents ever in Genesee County history took place around 3:45 this morning. An Amtrak train that had just picked up passengers in Rochester, 331 people on board, was traveling through, and then about 2 miles southwest of Batavia, it derailed. Some of the cars stayed on the track, but a number of them went off the track. Two tipped over into a ravine. There were some Boy Scouts on board, as you saw there. 125 people of the 331 on board were injured. No one has died as a result of this crash this morning, but it was a very spectacular scene as the emergency crews tried to work in between the wreckage and get the injured people out of there to a triage area, in other words, an area where they could treat them on the scene, then move them on to hospitals. Some of the more seriously injured were transferred to Buffalo area hospitals, Erie County Medical Center, and to Strong Memorial. A number more, as you saw in our report just a few minutes ago, are here at local Batavia hospitals, including 50 at St. Jerome's, where they've had to make a makeshift expanded emergency room to deal with all the people injured in the wreck this morning. We spoke with one woman who was on board the train. She was traveling with her husband, and then she describes what happened immediately after the crash.
He grabbed me, I grabbed her, and he held onto me, and I held onto her, and then, it just was horrible. I went under the table, I didn't know what was going on.
News Source 13 has crews in several places around town, some of the key locations where the news is going on right now. We're going to put it all together for you at noon today. We'll have reports from the scene, reports from the local hospitals, reports from the hospitals where the injured are being taken. And a very special place right now is the town hall in Batavia. That's where 150 people or so who were not injured were taken so that they could get Red Cross shelter. The Red Cross is there. They're putting in phone lines so those people can call home and say, Mom, Dad, I'm okay, whatever the situation is. The Boy Scouts that we showed you a few minutes ago are there at the scene helping out as well. A lot of stories to tell here, but the big one is no one has died. 125 people of the 331 on board the Amtrak passenger train were hurt today, and we're going to keep you up to date all morning long. A full report on News Source 13 at noon. This is Doug Embledge reporting News Source 13 in Batavia.
We now join our regularly scheduled program already in progress.
Up next from your news source, the wreck of the Lakeshore Limited. We'll have a series of reports tonight, including a live update from Doug Embledge.
An Amtrak passenger train derailed around 3:45 this morning, Don. We'll have some of the details in a live report.
Our stories tonight will include talking to some who survived that train accident earlier this morning, also some of the heroes who helped out, and Jim Redmond, our investigative reporter, will look at the investigation trying to determine the cause of the crash. All of that and more. Complete coverage coming up next on News Source 13.
Cheer with Advanced Color Guard. Load after load, there's no better guard against colors that run. Dirt goes, color stays.
News Source 13 closed captioning is made possible by Tops Friendly Markets.
From WOKR, Rochester, this is News Source 13.
Twisted ties, jumbled cars, passengers climbing to safety. The early morning wreck of the Lakeshore Limited creates chaos near Batavia.
This is the scariest train ride I ever had in my life.
Good evening, I'm Don Alhart. Many say it is a miracle no one was killed this morning when the Lakeshore Limited derailed near Batavia. It happened just before 4 a.m. west of the city of Batavia, about 2 miles from its center, actually not far from Batavia Downs. The train carried 320 passengers and a crew of 20. 110 people in all were injured. There are many stories to tell tonight of bravery and action in the face of chaos. News Source 13's Doug Ambrose is standing by live with the first of several reports. Doug?
Don, 8 people hopped on that train in Rochester this morning. Along with the other passengers, they were all headed for Chicago. This trip had started in New York City and Boston. They hooked up in Albany, went on to Rochester. Then the train jumped the tracks near Batavia a short time later. Many on board were asleep at the time. They were expecting to wake with the sun somewhere in the Midwest. They got a rude awakening instead in the farmland of Genesee County. It was a terrible noise in the middle of the night. The fact that it was dark had to make it even scarier. When the sun came up, it threw some light on just how massive the wreckage was. There were 340 people on board this train, 340 with stories to tell.
It was more the movement. We were going back and forth, like this. And, of course, the noise and screaming. And
you could see the sparks out there.
I was just afraid we were going to tip over.
Some of the passengers had just boarded in Rochester.
We were only stuck in the car for like 10 minutes before they managed to get the front of it open, and I don't think anyone in our car was hurt too badly. There was one person with a back injury and one person with a broken ankle, though.
More than 100 people were hurt, but there was plenty of help for them. 50 ambulances and choppers to take the wounded to the hospitals. At St. Jerome's in Batavia, they turned a small emergency department into a large one in a hurry. Those who were not hurt stood in a daze, their luggage lined up on the tracks. This mom left with her daughter in a stroller. They were headed to the Batavia Town Hall, where the Red Cross was offering shelter and food and a place to calm down.
I woke up many times during the night, frightened, just a pretty scary ride.
It certainly was. There was so much help to go around, though, Don. There was help from the local hospitals. We mentioned St. Jerome's, Genesee Memorial. Also, the Batavia Veterans Hospital, we're told, helped with some treatment of patients today. Others were taken to Strong and Erie County Medical Center. It's been one of those days. We said the scary part may be over. However, the hard part isn't necessarily. There are some who've decided to move on to their destination. Others are still here in hotels in Batavia tonight, deciding what to do. They're collecting their belongings and probably collecting their thoughts, too.
One of the things I gather most from your report is our ability here to mobilize, to bring all of that emergency equipment and people and manpower into action so quickly.
It really went well, and I think there was a feeling among the people involved that they all had a job to do, and those who weren't part of the official emergency crews knew that their neighbors or people, fellow human beings at least, were in trouble, and they pitched in, rolled up their sleeves, and helped out, and it all went quite well.
Okay, Doug Ambrose in Batavia. I want to pass along, if people have questions about anyone who might have been on that train, there is a number to call. Amtrak has set up an 800 passenger information line. You see it on your screen, 1-800-523-9101. Well, the best news to come out of this disaster is that everyone survived. News Source 13's Vita Beasley talked with many of the passengers and shares some of their amazing stories.
The sun was still rising through the fog, hanging over the small town of Batavia. But even the fog could not hide the uprooted train ties, the crushed train cars, and the faces of the passengers who survived the accident. Little Andrea Trask was content with her bottle as her mother rocked her. Jenny Trask says she came close to losing her baby when the train careened off the tracks and down an embankment.
He grabbed me, I grabbed her, and he held onto me, and I held onto her, and then, it just was horrible. I went under the table, I didn't know what was going on.
Leslie Fry didn't know what was going on either. He only knew he wanted to help the pair he just met on the train.
The train started to rock back and forth, and I just reached over and grabbed her from going under the table, made sure she was all right.
Most passengers were sleeping when the train derailed. Many say the only warning they had was a loud screeching sound.
And all of a sudden the squeak, boom, and a jerking sound, and we started, I guess, skidding and went right on off over an embankment.
Rossi Harris was heading to a wedding in Denver. He was just waking up as it all began.
I'm afraid to fly because I might have an accident.
Christine Alquist says she couldn't believe the train she was on was actually going off the track.
The scariest part was there's no lights, it's totally dark, and I couldn't get the door open.
The derailment delayed a lot of plans, but most of the passengers here are thankful to be able to walk away from one of the worst passenger train wrecks here in recent history. Vita Beasley, News Source 13.
So what caused the wreck of the Lakeshore Limited? That, of course, a question on the minds of many, including News Source 13's investigative reporter, Jim Redmond.
Federal investigators don't know yet what caused the Lakeshore Limited to crash, but gouge marks in the tracks and at the Donahue Road crossing indicate the train was coming off the tracks 3 miles east of where the cars slid down the embankment. Investigators say a set of wheels called a truck on one of the train cars was on the wrong side of the rails.
At this point, we of course are not sure what truck on what car it was. We have to piece all of that together.
Some of the sleeping passengers woke up when they heard a bang shortly before the crash.
And then it felt like we went over a bump and then turned over and slid down. Because, you know, first thing you think is you're going to die.
It may have been the train hitting the pavement at the Donahue Road crossing.
There was a derailment of at least one truck on the car about 3 miles beyond the main part of the accident.
The cars making up the Lakeshore Limited are old. They're called Heritage Series cars built in the 1950s. Investigators will look at how they were maintained. There is some irony in this accident. The accident took place about a quarter mile this side of some safety devices that are built right into the track. That safety equipment would have alerted the engineer that some equipment was dragging beneath the train. Investigators will also be looking at the conditions of the tracks and how fast the train was going.
You know, you can say, well, it appears to me that he was going awful fast, but that what it appears to me he was going awful fast.
It's our understanding that the maximum authorized speed on this section of track is 79 miles per hour. We have preliminary information indicating that the train was traveling a few miles an hour less than that, probably around 74.
And Jim Redmond is in Batavia and joins us now live with more. Jim?
Well, Don, the trains have a device called an event recorder. It's sort of like a black box in an airplane. It measures things like the speed, whether the train was accelerating or slowing down. It also measures whether the brakes are working. Those have been pulled and will now be sent to Washington for analysis.
Okay, Jim Redmond with 13 Live in Batavia. I want to pass along some other comments just to give you some background. The worst train accident in Amtrak history was caused by a barge which had run into a bridge. You may remember that one. It happened in the Alabama Bayou. That was less than a year ago. The Sunset Limited plunged off the bridge, killing 47 people. And in our area, we've been more fortunate. There have been no serious passenger train accidents in the past few years. In fact, the most recent wreck happened in the mid-1980s. 2 people were killed south of Buffalo when 2 freight trains hit head-on in Concord, New York. That's near the Kissing Bridge ski area. Well, you might wonder how train travel has been affected by the crash. News Source 13's Patrice Walsh went to the local station where she found it brought westbound travel to a halt for several hours.
The first eastbound train to stop in Rochester following the derailment pulled in 5 hours late, but passengers Rufus and Ernest James didn't mind the delay. They spent their time snapping pictures of the wreck in Batavia.
What did they say?
Just said that we'd stop in Buffalo and may have to be transferred to buses.
Clyde Quick didn't want to miss the train. He spent all morning waiting at the station.
Last year I was late, this year I was early, and apparently too early.
The derailment forced Don Wishmeyer to cancel plans to take his daughter on her first ever train ride.
We're down here today picking up a refund because we couldn't make the trip.
It wasn't the kind of trip passengers envisioned, but most, like the James brothers, agree they're just glad to be home. Patrice Walsh, News Source 13.
Well, you may have seen some of the heroes in our footage so far. With any disaster, there are heroes, people who go above and beyond the call of duty to help. The wreck of the Lakeshore Limited is no exception. News Source 13's Mary Bubala standing by live to introduce us to some very special people.
Don, the heroes are young and old, men and women. Each played a crucial role in the rescue and recovery of the passengers, including Boy Scout Troop 114. The Scouts were on the train when duty called.
They are known for their courage. It's part of Scouts' honor. Ask any passenger. The boys of Troop 114 are heroes.
The Boy Scout troop from Springfield, Massachusetts was, they had all gotten on right before when we left Springfield, and they were out helping everybody.
When the train derailed, all the Boy Scouts were sleeping, except Rick Taylor. He was in the observation car, the one that rolled over. Rick pulled himself up from the wreckage. And with all his strength, he pulled injured passengers out.
Saw a lot of broken glass, a lot of bloody people.
What'd you do?
Just helped them out. Took the ones out that could be taken out. Let the EMTs do the rest.
Bob Davis is Rick's scoutmaster. He is in awe over what the 14-year-old did.
Later on, he went back in again and got some lady her diapers for her baby.
The bravery did not have boundaries. Ambulance crews climbed into the wreckage also. They rescued people who cried out. Volunteers from Genesee and Monroe counties got out of bed at the crack of dawn. They rushed to the wrecked train to do the right thing. Others did all they could to comfort the passengers.
I mean, what would you like to be in a train wreck and not have anybody there for you? I mean, you have to help people. How can you not help mankind? I mean, I don't care. I just couldn't walk away from anybody. You know, if they need the help, we're there to do it.
You know, the way people came together says a lot about this community. There are so many stories that came out of this train wreck, this tragedy. Some inspiring stories from both people on and off the train. Don?
My own thoughts as I look at all of this. Earlier I talked about the ability to mobilize equipment, and now I look at our ability really to get caring people together whenever we need them.
Everybody seemed to have heart, definitely.
Okay, Mary Bubala live in Batavia tonight. Thank you. Well, coming up next from your news source, some other news of this day. We'll update the Eric Smith murder trial. And we'll hear from a man struck by lightning yesterday.
They had the power to pick me up and throw me across the room, you know.
Don't just think squeeze, a big squeeze.
Charmin Big Squeeze, it's too big to ignore. It's a roll and a half.
And a little bit more.
It lasts so long, you'll change it less. And with squeezable softness, you'll know it's the best. Charmin Big Squeeze, it's got more sheets. 60%, that's 62 feet. Get the big squeeze from Charmin, it's a roll and a half.
And a little bit more.
Just one taste of Honey Bunches of Oats cereal and you'll love it instantly.
Honey Bunches of Oats? You're not going to convince me. I'm convinced. Like I was saying, this is special.
Starting with those toasty flakes of corn and wheat.
What makes you think this is the one? This is the one. This is great.
Combined with those honey-kissed oat clusters in every mouth-watering bite.
If you really want me to try it, okay, I'll try it, but no promises, okay?
Whoa.
Post Honey Bunches of Oats. One taste is all it takes.
Whoa.
Take a peek at Viking International's European beauties during Homerama at Blue Heron Hills. Save 20 to 40% on all Viking International Homerama furnishings and store-wide savings throughout the Cohoes Commons showroom. Set your home apart from the ordinary with world-class design from Viking International and enjoy the savings during the Homerama sale at Viking International at Cohoes Commons, Jefferson Road, Henrietta.
You're watching News Source 13 with Don Alhart, Chief Meteorologist Bill Peterson, and Mike Catalana on sports.
The Eric Smith murder trial ended early today after a state police captain became emotional on the stand. The investigator was talking about what he found at the crime scene. Smith is charged with beating 4-year-old Derek Roby to death last summer in Savonia. Updating some other items in the news tonight. The victim of a lightning strike in Pittsford is back home. Todd Emerson was watching TV when he was hit.
The lights flashed and I heard some snapping, crackling, and popping at the same time. I was flying about 3-4 feet back and I was just in agony.
The little girl who fell out of a second-story window yesterday is out of intensive care. Brittany Hunt, who is 18 months old, now in satisfactory condition. Police need your help in identifying another little girl. She was found on Brown Street in the city about 1:30 this afternoon. Police believe she's about 3 years old. They do not know her name or her address. No luck yet in finding her parents. Take a look at this little girl. If you have any information, please, you're asked to call 911. A programming note to pass along. Because of all of our coverage on the Amtrak derailment, the News Source 13 Extra this week, Power to Heal, is on hold tonight. Tomorrow we'll learn more about herbalism, find out about the natural forms of alternative medicine like plants and herbs and flowers and how they can help heal us. That tomorrow as Mary McCombs continues her special report, The Power to Heal. And coming up next, meteorologist Bill Peterson with our forecast.
Got up into the 80s. 84 was our high temperature today. As we look at our almanac, our low last night was 68. A little more rain headed this way. I'll be back to talk about it.
Get it moving. And the silver bullet has the taste to keep it moving. Coors Light. Naturally brewed for a taste that goes down easy. Coors Light. Keep on moving.
News Source 13 Chief Meteorologist Bill Peterson's weather forecast is approved by the American Meteorological Society. Coming up next.
It's our lowest prices of the summer during the Midsummer Night's Bedding Sale at City Mattress. Twin-size mattresses and box springs start at $55 each piece. Full-size from $85 each piece. Queen mattress and box spring sets from $288, and king-size sets start under $400. Bedroom furniture, day beds, bunk beds, and brass beds are on sale too until Saturday. Once you get the City Mattress feeling, you won't be able to sleep without it.
Take the Masters Tour of Homerama 94 in Blue Heron Hills. Tour 13 luxury homes. See an 850 square foot master suite. Designs by master builders. The latest in lighting, landscaping, and custom detail. Homerama 94 in Blue Heron Hills off Route 441, July 30th through August 14th, noon to 9. Sponsored by the Rochester Home Builders Association.
In Niagara Falls, Ontario, Marineland is the place to go, where magic's king and the dolphins sing. Everyone loves Marineland. You can take your family for the day, watching the whales while they swim and play, seeing friends you miss, a great big kiss. Everyone loves Marineland.
I want to pass along what's coming up at 11. We will, of course, revisit the wreck of the Lakeshore Limited. News Source 13's Patrice Walsh will have an update of what is taking place there as the cleanup continues tonight, and, of course, the attempts to find out exactly what went wrong this morning. And right now, we're going to take a look at our weather forecast. It has cleared out a little bit and not as uncomfortable. The mugginess seems to have tapered off.
It did. It was kind of a mixed bag out there. Some people said it was humid. Others said that it wasn't too bad. All in all, said temperatures did get into the 80s today. Kind of a changeable day. Started with some clouds and fog and a sprinkle or two this morning, and then cleared up this afternoon. Partly cloudy skies being reported right now at the airport. Our temperature just down to 82 degrees. Now, what we will see tonight with high dew points and stuff will be some fog across the area. And right now, I think that's going to be our major concern during the night tonight, will be that fog. Take a look at the spotter temperatures. Pick your community out. The temperatures vary very little across the area, from the mid-70s into the low 80s. The warm spot up at Hilton, 84 degrees. Again, a little bit closer to the lake, 81 degrees up there also. Scottsville at 83 and Victor at 84. Phelps is 86, and again, not a bad day across the area as far as rain goes, though very little moisture. Still hot back in through the western states. Cooler pocket of air. You can see them 70s right now. As we head into Friday and Saturday, our temperatures will have to struggle to get into the low 70s, so we definitely have a cool down headed this way. We have high pressure over us. That means some sunshine as we speak. Scattered thunderstorms to the east. The system back to the west that will bring us some clouds, will bring us some showers headed this way. It looks like our first chance of rain will be tomorrow afternoon. In fact, the later in the afternoon we get, the better chance of showers and some thunderstorms will exist. And as we move into the evening hours, we could see some heavy thunderstorms. That means some lightning strikes, some torrential rains, and we'll use all of our toys to keep you updated better than anybody else can do it in Rochester, and we'll continue to watch that right through the evening hours should any watch or warnings be needed. High pressure dominates across the area. You can see some sunshine at least to start the day tomorrow, but that cold front that is back to the west will head this way. Got a little low pressure system with it, and of course as it does push in here, and when it moves through in the afternoon hours, will kick off some showers and thunderstorms, and those will carry into tomorrow night. In fact, may actually linger into Friday morning. It will be mild tonight. Temperatures down into the 60s. As I said, I think fog could be our biggest concern during the nighttime hours. For tomorrow, temperatures will be in the 80s. Could pick up some showers and thunderstorms in the afternoon. And there you see it. Cool on Friday. We'll have to struggle to get actually to 70 degrees. Pleasant weekend at temperatures remaining in the 70s, but we will see some sun.
Forgot to mention that last night. Drove home with the four-way flashers on. Foggy.
Oh,
foggy
it was.
night.
Cut it with a knife.
Okay. Mike is up next with a look at sports.
Yeah, Yankees in Milwaukee, Wisconsin today to make Bill feel at home. We're going to show you how they get ready for a ball game in Wisconsin. They just kind of get ready for the game.
You gonna show us that,
I was going to.
You gonna show it?
It would look great. We'll show you the game.
All right.
Coming up next in sports.
We'll take a look at that.
We'll show that to you.
I'll tell you right now, though, we're going to take a look at Wall Street. A mixed day it was on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrials lost about 3.5 points. Gainers led losers, however, by an 11-9 margin as 283 million shares were traded. Here are some issues of local interest.
There's big news on the Rochester sports scene. Dick's Clothing and Sporting Goods is expanding again. Dick's is opening brand new superstores in Cobblestone Court and the new Grease Ridge Center. To celebrate these grand openings, every Dick's store will be offering special savings on a huge selection of all your favorite stuff.
Jeans, outerwear, clubs, rackets, footwear. Huge!
Come see Dick's 2 new superstores in Cobblestone Court and the Grease Ridge Center.
Dick's! Hey, get ready for our newest sports dynasty. Dick's!
Hey, you got a package.
What is it?
I don't know. Open it up. Whoa, somebody must think you're really special. That's Post Premium Raisin Bran.
This is the one I eat at home.
Premium? That means they don't just put in raisins, but like hundreds of plump, juicy raisins.
Yeah, millions.
And look at these flakes.
They're huge.
Who thinks you're that special to send you Post Premium Raisin Bran?
It's from my mom.
Mommy.
Post Premium Raisin Bran.
Makes everybody feel like somebody's special.
Introducing the most durable Bounty ever.
It does jobs I never thought a paper towel could do. Now it's the quilted picker-upper.
The quilted Quaker picker-upper.
It even scrubs a carpet.
Ordinary towels fall apart, even top quality towels, but new quilted Bounty's this much stronger. It's still quicker too.
The quilted Quaker picker-upper.
New quilted Bounty.
Some brewers think you can brew iced beer with the same old equipment and just turn down the temperature. But they're wrong. To do it right, it takes a unique process and a patented machine that takes the beer to -4 degrees centigrade to create full-flavored Coors Arctic Ice. Then to keep it bold, we keep it cold. Otherwise, why would you call it iced beer? New Arctic Ice from Coors. Nothing's bolder, nothing's colder.
For value, nothing outranks an Admiral. And now that Rosa and Sullivan has an exclusive on Admiral appliances, stop and inspect the whole fleet. We'll go overboard and save you more.
Mike, it's your time to take a look at sports.
We're going to talk about the strike, or the upcoming strike. It was a long day of negotiations today between the players and the owners today as they try to avoid that baseball strike. Here is what they have accomplished today. Players, reps, and the owners, they arrived, they had lunch, they went home. That's it. Absolutely nothing accomplished. August the 12th is coming fast. Yankees in Milwaukee today. Is this a Wisconsin thing or something, Bill? You have to tell us. Taking a drink out of a sock? Keep it cool? I don't know. Here's the ball game. Randy Velarde breaks a 1-1 tie to give the Yanks a 2-1 lead, and drinks for everybody. Break out the sock. Look at this. Look at this. He does know. Bill says it is a Wisconsin thing. I don't know. The Brewers having their iced tea. The Yankees winning the game 2-1. Minnesota beat Baltimore today 4-3. Also in baseball, Boston over Toronto 7-2. National League, Florida beat Chicago, and Cincinnati big over San Francisco. They have just started a doubleheader at Silver Stadium, the Wings and the Braves on Norton Street. We will have highlights for you tonight at 11 o'clock. At Bills camp, a signing today, Mo Iluanibe, a starter last year at offensive tackle for the Redskins, was signed by the Bills today. That is a sign that the Bills are a little concerned about tackle Jerry Krafts. And do you think they are ready for the Brickyard 400 in Indianapolis? This is the caravan of tractor trailers bringing the race cars into town for Saturday's race. And the race fans were there, lining up on the highway for more than a mile just to get a glimpse of the trucks carrying the cars of their favorite drivers. They get a hero's welcome into town for the tractor trailers. The drivers are in town practicing. They are ready for racing in Indy.
And Bill has an explanation for a sock and two-me or whatever.
Well, I think if you get the sock wet, the evaporation keeps the iced tea or beer cool.
Wow, glad I knew that.
And that's how they do it in Wisconsin.
All right.
Don't have refrigeration yet.
We'll be right back in just a moment. Looking for a bright spot amidst all of the problems today in Batavia.
Dear Midas, the brakes on my 4x4 were squealing, so I went to your shop. I came with my Midas guarantee, and I was prepared to fight to have it honored. Your people reviewed my records and inspected my car. Still unsure of the cost, I was told.
The shoes and pads are guaranteed, no charge.
Then my brakes were fixed. I was truly amazed. Thank goodness for honest people. Sincerely, Anna Touchstone.
We've been up all night.
Slashing prices in every single department.
For 12 hours only, we're pushing discounts further. Ruthless reductions of up to 70% off store-wide. Broyhill, Thomasville, Lazy Boy, Sealy, and more. All at the lowest prices. Plus, buy now with no payments and no interest for 12 months. That's 1 full year absolutely payment-free during Ruby Gordon's incredible 12-hour sale.
You're gonna love the difference.
Score a Dream Team 2-Cup at McDonald's when you supersize.
Just 39 cents more for more drink and more fries.
Supersize any extra value meal
and collect a Dream Team 2 today. Then look out, world. We're hungry to play.
McDonald's extra value meals are a great way to score. For just $2.99, get any one of these 4. Cheeseburger, McChicken, Quarter Pounder with cheese, or Big Mac extra value meal, whichever you please.
Okay, listen up. 2 12-piece meals. What's the difference? With this one, nobody can agree.
Like our anchovy.
Whereas with this one, everybody agrees. It's KFC's Bigger Colonel's Dozen. 12 pieces of chicken with 33% larger breast pieces, plus large mashed potatoes and gravy, large coleslaw, and your choice of another side for only $12.99. An offer this big is sure to win your family's approval. That's the Bigger Colonel's Dozen for $12.99.
And one more check with Doug Ambers out in Batavia before we wrap things up here tonight. Doug?
Well, Donna, right now what's happening is that team of 10 investigators from the National Transportation Safety Board is meeting to compare notes from their day's investigation. At 8 o'clock tonight, they are going to hold a press conference to tell us what they've decided. Certainly, I wouldn't expect a final ruling, but maybe some more preliminary information about what caused the crash today.
Okay, that, of course, coming up tonight at 11 o'clock. Well, finally tonight, looking for a bright spot amidst the wreckage of that Amtrak train, the one which went off the tracks near Batavia early this morning after leaving Rochester bound for Chicago. 340 people on board, including crew, 110 injured, taken to area hospitals, but no one died. That's a bright spot. But the real bright spot is human compassion. Volunteers reaching out in the early morning darkness to help one another. We cannot name them all, but we remember the words of one of them.
And I help some people out. It's a good thing to do.
Boy Scout Rick Taylor. I helped some people out. It's a good thing to do, he said. And indeed it is, Rick. That's why you and all of those who helped share our bright spot tonight over the wreckage in Batavia. And before we leave, we'll check our weather one more.
Don, we will see some sunshine to start the day tomorrow. In the afternoon, look for some showers and thunderstorms. Some of those thunderstorms could be heavy. We'll be here to update you.
All right, and coming up in sports.
Doubleheader at Silver and district tennis highlights.
All right, ABC World News tonight next with Peter Jennings. Ginny Ryan joins us with more tonight at 11.